Picture an invitation that feels too exclusive to refuse, a private poker game inside an expensive townhouse, famous athletes at the table, large bets, and the promise of joining a world normally hidden from outsiders. Everything appears designed to make a guest feel important. But beneath the polished setting, prosecutors say some underground games were carefully engineered traps. The target was not competing against ordinary players. He may have been facing an organized team that already knew his cards, controlled the action, and intended to collect his money long after the final hand. The allegations described here come from United States Department of Justice cases that were still ongoing when the source video was produced. The defendants are presumed innocent unless proven guilty. Yet the evidence outlined by investigators offers a remarkable look at how technology, social pressure, and organized crime could allegedly transform a familiar card game into a coordinated fraud operation. In Texas Hold'em, every player receives 2 private cards. 5 community cards are gradually placed face up, with rounds of betting between them. Success normally depends on probability, observation, and bluffing. Players protect their private cards because uncertainty is the foundation of the game. If an opponent secretly knows every hand, that uncertainty disappears. He can fold whenever the victim is strong, encourage larger bets whenever the victim is weak, and manufacture a believable mixture of wins and losses. Marked cards are one of the oldest ways to gain that advantage. Simple marks might be tiny scratches, altered corners, or details hidden inside the printed design. More sophisticated systems use colors that are difficult to distinguish under ordinary light. Specially tinted glasses or contact lenses increase the contrast, revealing information that other players cannot see. What appears to be an ordinary pattern on the back of a card becomes a secret code identifying its value or suit. This technique is older than modern casinos. Historical advertisements promoted concealed markings and filtered glasses nearly a century ago. Today, similar equipment can be found through specialized online sellers. The scientific explanation is less mysterious than some advertisements suggest. A colored filter suppresses parts of the visible spectrum, causing a faint mark to stand apart from the background. To everyone else, the deck looks normal, but to the person wearing the correct lens, the cards may be readable from across the table. Technology alone does not explain why someone would risk enormous sums in an unregulated room. Private games sell access as much as poker. A recognizable athlete or celebrity can act as the attraction, encouraging wealthy guests and professional players to accept an invitation. The visitor may believe he has entered an elite social circle. According to prosecutors, that desire for status could be used to lower suspicion and bring valuable targets directly to the table. In October 2025, federal officials announced arrests connected to investigations involving professional basketball figures, illegal gambling, and alleged organized crime associates. One part of the investigation, called Operation Royal Flush, concerned poker games allegedly rigged in several American cities beginning in 2019. Authorities publicly identified losses of at least several $1 million. Poker professionals interviewed in the source believe the real total might have been much larger because private gambling debts are often settled through cash, cryptocurrency, or informal transfers that are difficult to trace. The alleged operation was not described as one identical crew working everywhere. Investigators and players portrayed a network of local groups, organizers, technical operators, and recognizable personalities who helped attract participants. Prosecutors alleged that some New York games were connected to associates of established crime families. In exchange for a share of the proceeds, those associates allegedly provided protection and helped enforce unpaid debts. One method investigators described involved cameras and electronically marked decks. An invisible barcode could be printed along the edge of the cards. A concealed scanner inside a chip tray or a device disguised as a phone could read that code while the dealer distributed the deck. The information would then be processed outside the victim's view, allowing the cheating team to identify the strongest hand. Another alleged system was commonly described as an X-ray table, although the expert interviewed in the source offered a different explanation. A specially constructed light table could contain powerful ultraviolet illumination beneath its felt. Human players would not see that light, but a sensitive camera above the table could. With enough illumination passing through the cards, the camera might capture their faces even while they remained face down. In this arrangement, the cards require no visible marks because the table and camera perform the surveillance. Knowing the cards is only the first half of the operation. The information must reach someone who can control the betting without alerting the victim. Investigators described an off-site operator and an insider at the table known as the quarterback. The operator received the scanned information, interpreted the hands, and signaled the quarterback. The message might arrive through a concealed vibrating device, a phone notification, or a coded call. The quarterback could then direct the other players with gestures that looked completely natural. Touching a certain chip might identify the current winner. Rubbing the chin could represent another player. Touching an arm might mean that the target held the strongest hand and everyone should fold. These signals allowed an entire table to coordinate while appearing to make independent decisions. Group messages allegedly helped teams adjust their strategy and decide when to let a victim win so the game would remain believable. The most elaborate method involved an automatic card shuffler. A legitimate machine such as the Deckmate 2 sorts cards among internal shelves, uses a camera to recognize them, and produces a randomized deck. Those features help casinos detect missing or duplicated cards. But security researchers demonstrated that physical access to the machine's communication ports could allow its software to be modified. In the researchers' demonstration, altered software transmitted the shuffled order to a nearby device. Cutting the deck would normally change its starting position, but an application could reconstruct the new sequence after learning only a small number of cards from a known seat. Once synchronized, the application could calculate every player's cards and predict which hand would win. One accomplice could fold, enter known cards into a phone, and quietly signal another player. The Justice Department alleged that hacked shufflers were used in some rigged games, although public documents did not explain every technical detail. Several possible arrangements could produce the same advantage. A dishonest dealer might preserve a prepared sequence with a false cut. An accomplice might enter exposed cards into an application. Or the shuffler might transmit its information to an operator, who would then guide the quarterback and the rest of the team. A sophisticated crew would not necessarily take everything immediately. Repeated losses could frighten the target away. Instead, the players could allow temporary victories, encourage confidence, and slowly increase the stakes. When the target tried to recover earlier losses with a bluff, the team would already know the truth. Every raise would push him deeper into a hand that had effectively been decided before he placed his chips in the pot. The danger could continue after the game. High-stakes private tables often use credit instead of keeping large amounts of cash in the room. A losing player leaves with a debt that must be settled later. Prosecutors allege that victims were directed to transfer money through specific intermediaries and that some payments were laundered. Court documents also describe threatening messages and an alleged physical assault connected to the collection of gambling debt. The central lesson is not simply that cards can be marked or machines can be hacked. The alleged scheme worked because every layer supported the others. Celebrity access attracted the target. Technology exposed the cards. Coordinated players manipulated the betting. Organizers moved the money, and intimidating associates pursued anyone who refused to pay. What looked like an exciting private game may have been a controlled performance in which the guest was the only person who did not know the ending.